She was screaming at me, saying that I had done something I didn't do.
No, I want you to tell me what she said to you.
She said I flipped her off. She knew who I was, which was frightening. I'd never met her.
Flipped her off when?
She states that she saw my vehicle and that I reached over Gabe and flipped her off driving on the road. But I don't know her and I've never met her, so I don't know how that's possible.
Okay, and?
And that was the reason that she followed us to Quick Trip to start an incident.
So what happened?
Yeah, she called me fat and told me that I knew exactly who she was. She was yelling about me flipping her off. She said, yes, you rented my house. I know who you are. And she just kept saying my name. And that's when I got out my phone and started recording.
Rojo.
Yes, Your Honor.
Boyfriend, fiance?
Hopefully fiance, just boyfriend.
Boyfriend. And you were living together and leased a home with your children. Are they his children?
We have a blended family, 2 each.
Okay, so 4 children, the 2 of you leased a home from the defendant.
That's correct.
You're her husband.
Yes.
It was a home that they had recently purchased with the intention of living there. Did you ever live in the home?
Yeah, a couple of months.
Okay. And then work took them away, and they hired a management company to find tenants for the house. In what month and year did you lease the house?
We moved in November 1st, 2021. We had signed our lease in October.
And it was a year lease?
It was 6 months.
Terminating when?
April 30th, 2022.
You were notified by the management company that the Richardsons were moving back into their house and would not be extending your lease.
Yep.
Now, after you were given notice by the management company, you called Mr. Richardson.
I did, yes.
I want you to tell me why you called him.
The school year was nearing its end, and so I was just wondering if there was any way to extend it just another month or maybe even a couple of weeks just to get to the end of the school year. And when he said no, they were moving back in, that was the end of our communication.
Did he explain why to you?
He said, in his words, his wife was a tough sell, and she said that we couldn't extend the lease. And so that was the end of our communication.
Stand up, sir. Your last name is Richardson?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the conversation
Yes, I
that
do.
you had with Mr. Rojo? Tell me what he said to you, what you said to him.
He expressed a desire to extend the lease.
He said to you, I'd like to extend the lease. My kids are going to school. Could we extend it
absolutely.
a few weeks until after the school year?
Yes, and dad to dad, I totally understand. I expressed to him that...
No, what did you say to him?
I told him that,
Look at me.
I didn't initially see a problem with that initially. However, the reason we are moving
Just a second. When he said that to you, you understood.
Yes.
Did you say to him, I'll speak to my wife and call you back?
Yes, I have to talk to my wife.
Just a second. What you said was, I understand your problem. I have to talk to my wife. How did I know that? I have a crystal ball in my head because things make sense to me, Mr. Richardson, because you knew that you couldn't make that judgment on your own.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have children?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many?
4.
Now, where you had relocated, your children were in school.
Yes, Your Honor.
So moving back May 1st also required you taking your children out of school.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, why would you do that? No, don't ask her. Don't ask her. You're allowed to speak here.
Yeah.
Listen to me, Mr. Richardson. Here, you're allowed to speak. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great.
Only one of my children out of the 4 was enjoying their school.
It's still taking them out a month before school starts.
Absolutely. It wasn't something I'd like to do, but I had a job in Minnesota that started May 9th.
Okay, so now we're going to go back. So you say to Mr. Fate, listen, that question is above my pay grade.
Yes, Your Honor.
I have to speak to my wife.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sounds right. And did you speak to your wife?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
And what was her response?
She wanted to move as soon as possible.
Got it. Okay. So he called you back and
Correct.
said, my wife's a tough sell.
Correct.
Okay. Your case is about 2 things. First, a return of your security deposit, and then harassment and filing a false restraining order against you. So now you move out on April 30th or May 1st?
April 30th.
And how much of a security deposit did you put down on the house?
When we moved in, we paid $2,400.
Did you get any part of it back?
No, they noted that we would, but we did not.
Just a second. They noted that you would where?
When we got our disposition letter from the rental company, there was an amount noted that we were going to receive.
May I see it, please?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, so they list a whole bunch of things that were problematic. Something in there supposed to refund $340 of your $2,400. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did you receive the $340.88?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so now what you're going to show me, Ms. Richardson, is move-out charges, thermal fogging of garage to remove dog odor.
Yep.
$199. Let's go.
Hold on. There's so much stuff.
By the way, do you have a move-in report when you moved into the house? I'd like to see it.
There, thank you.
So far, I'm looking at all these pictures. Now, these pictures were the way you found the place moved in or out?
In.
In. So these pictures coincide with the move-in.
Correct.
For instance, I'm looking at this, Miss Richardson, and one of the things that you complain about is that they painted a wall blue in the master bedroom.
Yes.
Okay, well, the wall was blue.
Okay. I bought my house this color. I never gave permission for any modifications of my house.
Who cares?
And then they painted it this ugly color.
Who cares? You had to paint this anyway. It was all, there were holes in the walls. And it just, don't. Were you allowed to have dogs in your lease?
I believe we could have, yes.
What do you mean you believe? What does the
dogs-
lease say?
But the dogs were not in our lease at the time it was signed.
Was it asked whether you had pets?
No one asked us.
Does the lease ask whether there are
It
pets?
does note 0 pets, yes.
So it says there are 0 pets.
Right.
How many pets did you have?
We had 2 dogs in the house.
Well, that's wrong.
Yeah, it was.
Well, that's wrong. And they say that there were urine stains all over the carpet.
No, that's.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
In
Yeah.
the closet, this says,
If I may give you just this one text from Keith stating the urine smell in the home, and they asked us to clean the carpet before we moved in. That's.
oh, yeah, I'd like to see that.
That's a text message to me
Before
prior
moving
to
in.
us moving in.
Okay. Mr. Richardson, what were you going to have your wife take care of in the carpet?
I just wanted my wife to actually clean the carpet.
No. What was wrong with the carpets?
I wanted the carpet cleaned.
Cleaned.
Nothing was wrong with the carpet.
How many dogs did you have in the 2 months that you were living there?
I have
Oh, it's
2.
not an answer. 2.
I have 2.
Two is the answer.
Right.
Okay, sit down. Okay, I'm going to deal with the security deposit in a moment. I want you to tell me, after you moved out, there was an incident between the 2 of you and Mrs. Richardson. I want you to tell me your version of that.
Sure. So it was May 26th when the incident happened. So a little under a month after we vacated their home. We were picking up children in our little town. There's only one gas station and one restaurant. We pulled into the gas station. I got out of the passenger side of the van and a vehicle whipped into the spot next to us. It was a white Tahoe that apparently belongs to the defendant. She was screaming at me, saying that I had done something I didn't do.
No, I want you to tell me
Yeah.
what she said to you.
She said I flipped her off. She knew who I was, which was frightening. I'd never met her.
Flipped her off when?
She states that she saw my vehicle and that I reached over Gabe and flipped her off driving on the road. But I don't know her and I've never met her, so I don't know how that's possible.
Okay, and?
And that was the reason that she followed us to Quick Trip to start a incident.
So what happened?
Yeah, she called me fat and told me that I knew exactly who she was. She was yelling about me flipping her off. She said, yes, you rented my house. I know who you are. And she just kept saying my name. And that's when I got out my phone and started recording.
Do you have that recording? I'd like to hear.
I didn't get very much of it, but just have to press play.
Who you are or what
talking about. I do not know who you are or why you're harassing me right now. Who you are or what you're talking about. I do not know who you are or why you're harassing me right now.
What happened after you had that confrontation with her?
She left when I started recording. I then called the police. Obviously, I was upset and crying. My children were in the car. I was embarrassed for her that her children were in her own vehicle as she was chasing people down. I called the police and made the report. I do have a copy.
You have a police report. I'd like to see it.
Thank you.
See, Miss Richardson, this is your problem. If I were driving in my car with my young children and someone forced me off the road, that's a situation where your car can be flipped over, your children can be injured, and that would be the first thing that I would tell a police officer. Now, the police were called, they spoke to Miss Rojo, and then they came to find you. I'm going to read you exactly what the police officer said. I left Quick Trip and drove to the house location. As I was driving past the house, I observed a female sitting in front of the house and she waved me over to speak. Richardson was on the phone with dispatch as I arrived. Richardson hung up the phone and I asked her what took place. What did you tell the police officer that took place? Now, this just happened, Miss Richardson. Pay careful attention. It just happened.
So what happened was...
No, I didn't ask you what happened. I asked you what you told the police officer.
What I told the police officer is that my children and I were coming back from in town. And
no, you didn't tell him that at all. You and your children were in the car. That's what you told him.
Yes.
Okay, and?
We were in the car heading home, and in the opposite direction, my youngest daughter noticed Miss Rojo's vehicle. And
they were traveling in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
And right then, I noticed she was in the passenger side and Mr. Fate was driving. And she was pointing, flipping me off, screaming, like leaned over the driver and threw her middle finger up against the driver window, screaming, and then grabbed the wheel at me, grabbed the wheel, went like this, and I had to swerve because she put the wheel that way.
That's a lie.
Okay.
That you're making up as, not only as you're standing here, but when you filed your answer and your counterclaim, because that's a lie. And I'm going to tell you how I know that's a lie. Because that would be a terrible, you can stand up with her, because that would be a terrible thing that happened. Because what you say in your answer and your counterclaim is that she forced you off the road. That's what you say in your counterclaim. But moments after this incident, when you spoke to the police, you mentioned nothing about that.
I did.
No, nothing. All you told the police was she flipped you off. That's what you told the police. I'm going to read it to you because that he would have put, because that's reckless. That's terrible. Somebody going and forcing you off the road with children in the car, that's dangerous. She could be arrested for that. But that's not what you told the police officer. This is what you told the police officer. You ready? That she was driving along when she noticed a minivan in the opposite direction. She observed the female passenger lean over and begin to flip her off as they passed each other. Richardson said that she and her kids were in the car and it made her upset. She turned around and pulled into the Quick Trip lot shortly behind them and confronted them about the incident. It doesn't say anything about being forced off the road. It doesn't say anything about swerving. All it says was that somebody made a nasty gesture to you. That's what it says. But if somebody almost killed me and my children, that would be something that I would tell the police right off the bat.
He wouldn't make a report because there was no physical...
That's baloney.
He wouldn't do it.
That's baloney. I don't believe you.
I even asked for a restraining order. And
I don't, listen to me.
She has to physically do something.
I don't believe that she attempted to run you off the road. I believe she was disrespectful in flipping you off. There's no question in my mind because you don't look like an idiot. And if somebody attempted to kill me and my children by forcing them off the road, that would be the first thing that I would tell a police officer. Not that she flipped me off, so I turned around and confronted her about it. So that's how I know that it didn't happen.
It did happen.
Well, I have to make that judgment. I say it didn't happen, because if it happened, it would have been the first thing that you told the police moments after this incident occurred.
I even said it
and
on
you didn't.
dispatch.
And you
I was
didn't.
on the phone with 911.
Just a
waiting
second.
for an officer.
Just a second. If you have a 911 call that talks about being pushed off the road with your 4 children in the car, I would like to hear it or see it. Do you have it?
I did not
The answer is no.
one because I did not
No, your
get a hold of dispatch.
Your counterclaim's dismissed. Now, you filed a restraining order. Was the restraining order granted or not?
Yes.
Can I see the restraining order?
This is the original petition.
Did you go to court and have a hearing?
I contested it, yes.
Yeah, in your answer, that's what you say. She then took control of the wheel and forced me off the road. I was forced into a ditch. You keep making things up. You keep making up stories as you go along.
No, I had someone from the courthouse help me fill that out because there's no stuttering on that one.
Let me explain something to you. I don't believe that she tried to force you off the road. In any event, your counterclaim's dismissed. I don't believe you. Now I'd like to see your photographs of what you allege counts for $2,400 in security deposit.
Still the photos.
I'm not interested in the floors. The floors were dirty when they moved in. Do you want to tell me what this is a picture of?
That was just evidence that they had a dog in there and violated the lease agreement.
Okay.
I have a lot more pictures of photo and urine in the move out.
I'm looking for photographs of the damage so far. What is this, a garbage can full of stuff? What is it?
Yeah, that was what we pulled out of the.
Pulled out of
a lot of the cleaning. I had to go take that trash can to the landfill.
Oh, terrible.
Okay.
So there are spots on the lawn here that are clearly urine spots. Is that what you're showing me?
Yes, I have more actually.
Yeah, well, you had 2 dogs when you lived there for 2 months.
Tiny chihuahuas, ma'am, yes.
I don't care. I have Shih Tzus. They make the same brown spot.
My
what
dogs
difference does it
don't
make?
go out on the lawn. They go out on leashes on the sidewalk only because they're small and they're not from the city, so we don't let them run around freely in the backyard.
Okay. I actually believe that the restraining order that you filed against her was nonsense. You staying out of each other's way?
Yes. I try to avoid her at all, but she goes in my neighborhood, so I have to try to make sure that I get up super early if I have to leave, because she stated multiple times throughout the hearing that she, in fact, goes through my neighborhood more than 3 times a day.
So
she doesn't live in my town. She doesn't live in my neighborhood. There's no reason for her to even drive past my house. At the other end of my neighborhood, where she can easily access through and go through instead of going all the way.
She doesn't have to avoid you, madam. You lied.
I did not lie.
Yes, madam,
No,
you did.
I did not.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you that in my judgment, after reading this police report, common sense dictates, after reading this report, that the first thing that you say to the police is, she tried to kill me and my children by running me off the road.
And
you said absolutely nothing.
Never even wrote
You said absolutely nothing. She gets her whole security deposit back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,400. We're finished. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
She thinks that she can just do whatever she wants, and don't care.
It wasn't only frightening, it was embarrassing, and we live in a small town, so the way to go about conflict is not to chase it down, I would think.
She can, harass me. She can try to run me off the road with my kids in the car and not, care.
I have children, that's not the kind of person I am.
The fact that she doesn't have my forever home, as she put it.
We rented a house. We didn't know if we'd be there 6 months or forever, but does anyone ever want to move? I mean, things get said, and so, yeah, I could never be jealous of her.
It is what it is.
Yeah, leave people alone and don't steal.
Father's rights matter.
Dad always told me one of the ways that he used his truth radar, similar to yours, is if someone's telling a story or recounting something that happened, or in this case, the defendant speaking to the police about what happened, you always lead, he always said, with the most egregious thing, the worst thing that happened, the worst name that she called you, the worst action that they did to you. People tend to lead with that. And I fought him for a long time on that. I said, well, Dad, you're just bad at telling a story. You don't know how to set the scene, you know?
Yeah.
You don't know how to, sometimes
To
you need
texture
some
it.
background. And he said, no, but in instances which he was familiar with in the law, with police, with anyone of authority, with a judge, you always are rushing to get out the worst of the worst. So when you went down that avenue, when I
Reminded you of
saw
your-
where you were going, and it finally clicked for me. So I'll have to call him after this.
The apple.
Doesn't fall far from the tree.
This case started as a simple landlord-tenant dispute. But by the end, it turned into accusations of harassment, road rage, lies, restraining orders, and two families completely turning against each other. And honestly, the moment this case started, you could already feel the tension. Because Samantha Rojo and Gabriel Fates weren't just renting a house. They were raising 4 children together in that home, a blended family, kids in school, trying to build stability. And when the lease was about to end, they made what honestly sounded like a pretty reasonable request. They asked the landlords, "Can we stay just a few extra weeks so the kids can finish the school year?" That's it. Even the landlord's husband admitted he understood the situation, dad to dad. But the wife, Amber Richardson, wanted the house back immediately. And from that point on, everything became personal. Now, after the family moved out, the landlords refused to return the security deposit. And they started listing all kinds of damages: dog odor, urine stains, cleaning costs, paint issues, yard damage. But the problem for Amber was, the tenants came prepared. They had move-in photos, and one by one, those photos started destroying the landlord's claims. At one point, Amber complained about a blue wall, only for the photos to prove the wall was already blue before the tenants even moved in. And you could see Judge Judy immediately stop trusting her story. Because once a judge catches you exaggerating one thing, they start questioning everything else too. But honestly, the deposit issue wasn't even the craziest part of this case. The real explosion happened after the family moved out. Almost a month later, Samantha says she was at a gas station with her children when Amber suddenly pulled in aggressively and started screaming at her. Why? Because Amber claimed Samantha flipped her off while driving earlier on the road. Now, if the story stopped there, this would have just been 2 angry adults acting immature. But Amber took it much further. She claimed Samantha actually grabbed the steering wheel and forced her vehicle off the road with children inside the car. That's a massive accusation. That's not "she was rude." That's basically accusing someone of almost causing a deadly crash. And this is where Judge Judy completely dismantled the entire defense, because she looked at the police report written immediately after the incident and noticed something huge. Amber never told police she was forced off the road, never mentioned swerving, never mentioned almost crashing, never mentioned her children almost getting hurt. The only thing she originally reported was, "She flipped me off." That was it. And Judge Judy's logic here was honestly brilliant. She said, "If somebody almost killed me and my children, that would be the first thing I told police." And she's right. When something traumatic happens, people usually lead with the worst part first. So, the fact that Amber suddenly added all these dramatic details later in court made the whole story feel exaggerated. And once the judge stopped believing Amber about the road incident, everything else started collapsing too. The restraining order looked weak. The damage claims looked exaggerated. The deposit deductions stopped looking trustworthy. And that's why Samantha and Gabriel ended up winning the entire case. Full $2,400 security deposit returned. Counterclaim dismissed. But honestly, the saddest part about this whole case is how fast things escalated. This started with, "Can we stay a few extra weeks for the kids?" And it ended with, "She tried to kill my children." That's a massive emotional jump. And cases like this are exactly why credibility matters so much in court. Because the second the judge thinks you're exaggerating, you start losing everything else too. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more real courtroom drama cases explained like this, make sure to support the channel by liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you don't miss the next case.